So I'm going to kick it over to Rachel Spiegel. Today's informational session is about social intelligence, also known as our social emotional learning. And that is at the core of our curriculum at Maumee Valley Country Day School in every grade level. And we're lucky enough to have our school counselor, Rachel Spiegel, and she's going to walk us through how social emotional skills are at the core of instruction. And Mrs. Spiegel is the heartbeat of our school. She works with students, with parents, with faculty and staff. She has a wealth of information about social emotional learning and resources for our school community. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Rachel Spiegel.
And I'm watching everybody's video being glitchy, and now I'm wondering if I'm the one with the glitchy internet. Give me a thumbs up if that came through loud and clear. I think so. I hope so. Please interrupt me if I start to go ha and get frozen. Because we do have here in our upper school, we've been able to get all of, that's where my office is in the upper school, and we've got all our students in the building, but that means that some of our teachers are actually running Zooms with overflow classes, and they've got overflow kids. They've got their remote students at home. So our Wi-Fi is earning its money these days, making sure that we can get our students access to what we're doing here. So consequently, it puts us a little bit slow. So I love interaction on Zoom. I'm super glad you guys are showing your faces. As a mom of 4, I know what it's like to multitask. And so if you have to step away, don't be afraid to turn yourself off for a second. Take me with you and do what you got to do. But I am also going to be kind of looking for some interaction today as well, because so much of our content that we consume is just one way. And I miss people. I'm an extrovert. I love people. So I'll be looking for some interaction from you guys as well. So I'm going to start us off with a real quick poll. This is me stretching my Zoom wings here and trying some different functions. So you should see a couple questions that'll pop up in just a second here on your screen. And they're just some like yes or no questions, not necessarily a right or wrong answer, just looking for some quick opinions. This should just take us about 30 seconds to a minute. So, and Michelle and Muna, feel free to answer as well. So there's just 5 questions here real quick, and give me an answer for what you think. Some questions about toddlers and emotions. And hopefully that's up. You should be able to give me some answers, and I'll start seeing some answers here.
Okay, it did pop up. I'm not sure where exactly to click. Oh, there it goes. Okay, click the word yes. Okay, I think it
Good work, people. Okay. We're figuring it out.
Good.
It's a learning curve.
It is.
All right, so for our first question here, we've got some responses of tantrums are a normal way for toddlers to express their feelings. We're so far agreeing on that yes, that's in the realm of normal. Parents should respond to tantrums with strict discipline. We're feeling like that's not a great idea. When I try to work with my young child on following directions, I'm met with resistance sometimes, right? I'd be a little worried if you weren't ever met with resistance when you're trying to get your child to listen to you. And I have some strategies for helping my child to calm themselves down. We've got some strategies in there, and I can keep myself calm when my child is upset. Falling in the middle there too. Once again, parent of 4. I got 4 kids that are very close in age to each other, and so I definitely feel that as well. So thanks for your quick feedback on that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, but I will be kind of asking for some answers in the chat as we go along. So I also love to hear people's voices. So since there's just 2 of you guys on here with us, could you quick unmute and just tell me your name and then how many kids you have?
My name is Kara Svensson, and I have 2 kids, 5th grade and pre-K.
Okay, thank you, Kara.
My name is Pamela Carter. I have 2 children. My daughter is in Head Start. She's 4, and I recently have a baby. He's a boy, a son. He's 6 months old. He just turned 6 months old a couple days ago.
Congratulations. All right. So if you add your two kids together, that's my kids. So welcome to the Spiegel house. It's full of chaos. So my job here at Maumee Valley exists a lot in the Early Learning Center in the realm of helping support teachers in order to support their students. Like as Thomas said, our social emotional curriculum is at the core of what we do, especially in our Early Learning Center ages. So I'm going to share a little bit about why that's our philosophy here at Maumee Valley, the importance of that. And then hopefully we'll be able to look at a couple strategies that we use in the classrooms, things that you could do with your kids at home, and ways to be able to kind of expand our knowledge and our skills in our own self-regulation and helping our kids with that. So luckily I've had to do a few Zooms here and again, so I should be able to share my screen. Okay, so let's get this going up here. I will say it does feel a little bit funny to say how to develop kind, well-adjusted kids. I have answers. I don't have all the answers. Nobody does, but we're working towards the best knowledge that we have to be able to help kids to grow up into functional people. And so that's what we're going to look at today. So if you have questions as we're going along, please put them in the chat as we go. Muna's going to be kind of feeding me those questions. And I absolutely don't want to move on from something if you are feeling like I want a little bit more information about that, because there's just a couple of us here today. And so I want to help you to get the information that you were looking for out of this and not move on if you missed something. So feel free to put those in there and we'll answer them as we go. So I just want to share a little bit about why we put such a focus on social emotional learning and social emotional health for our students here at Maumee Valley. I mean, really, that's a research-based function of education, is to be able to help our kids to grow in their social and emotional well-being. That research has been supported for the better part of a century now. But kids' brains are wired to be curious and to want to learn. And so the best way to keep their brains in that mode where they're able to be those sponges that kids are is by giving them an environment and learning that helps them to regulate their emotions and keep their brain in that curious and learning mode. The Ohio Department of Education actually recently released a whole new framework. So a lot of our standards already go above and beyond what the Ohio Department of Education recommends for kids. But we do use those as like basic guideline benchmarks to make sure that we're meeting our educational standards. And up until this year, they've had curriculum, but now they've released a new framework that really looks at the whole child, ways that we can meet kids' needs on a functional basis, like health needs, safety needs, but also just that acknowledgement that kids need to feel safe and know how to keep their emotions in check, feel connected to people, and have that whole person be addressed in order to get the reading, the writing, the math. It's those building blocks that we work on. And so research is continuing to support that, but we've been doing that for years, and now the state's catching up to us and saying, good job, you're doing what you should be doing. So and the reason that we do that is this. I'll give you my little brain model that I often show kids. So if you hold up your hand with your thumb on the inside, don't punch somebody in the face like this, you will break your thumb. But this is your brain right here. This is your good little brain. It's helping you live every day. And if you bring your fingers up right here, your thumb, that's your amygdala, and that's your safety center in your brain. So we all have heard of the fight, flight, freeze response that our brain does. And that is a good thing that our brain does. It keeps us alive. It's supposed to do that. And then when we put our fingers back down, this is our prefrontal cortex, and this does our thinking, our problem solving, right? This is the part that keeps our curious brain going and is able to apply the information that we're learning to our everyday surroundings. The tricky part is that when we encounter a bear in the woods, now our amygdala takes over and we can't learn anymore. We're just responding. And so if you've had any at all exposure to, learning about things like anxiety, trauma, those sorts of situations, we know that in the big picture that long-term exposure to those things puts our brain a lot faster in that fight, flight, freeze mode, in that safety mode. But there's a whole variety of things that can trigger that, right? One of my favorite comedians talks about a kid having a balloon and they inevitably, right? You don't tie it to their wrist, they lose the balloon and you would think that they're dying. I mean, they're screaming on the ground and you're like, it's a balloon. It is not that big of a deal, you know? But to them, this was my pride and joy, my balloon, you know, and they're now all of a sudden it's like, it's the end of the world for them, right? They went into that mode of my life is over and I cannot think clearly about this situation, right? And so it's our job as the adults in their life to remind them, you're safe, you're okay. There will be other balloons in your life. This is not a bear, it's a balloon, and to get that mode back engaged. And so that really is a high priority for us in our school. I thought I'd give a real quick example of that. You know, one of the things that we found is that regulating the physiology, in other words, getting your body calm, slowing your heart rate down, slowing your body down, is a great way to be able to get that learning brain back on board, because it shows I'm done running, I'm in a safe place, and I'm now able to get my emotions back in check. So we'll get our hand back up again, and we're going to do a starfish breath. So this is just one of the breathing techniques that our teachers do in the classroom when they see a kid that needs a moment and that needs some help. And it's really great because you can see your little starfish right here. It's always important to give a visual cue when we're trying to help our kids with their regulation, because, right, like they're just all over the place. And so you start right here at the base of your thumb, and you follow it up and you breathe in and out. That's one leg. Keep going down your starfish, in and out. One more. Halfway through our starfish. We're almost there. 2 more legs. And out. And our last one. In and out. I feel calmer even now. I'm presenting. It makes me a little nervous. So thanks for doing that with me. That's just one of the ways that we can help get our kids. It's getting our brains back online. It's when our Wi-Fi glitches and we get kicked off our Zoom and now we're freaking out, right? Our brains do the exact same thing. We just need to get our bodies calmed down so we can get our brains back online. And that's what we're doing with our kids. Oh, I had a visual for that. I forgot. Moving on. So we've kind of got 3 approaches that we do here at Maumee Valley. We want to think about thinking ahead in being proactive, knowing that our kids are going to have meltdowns, knowing that this is a new skill for them, knowing that there might be 15 of them doing it at the same time. We need to be proactive and be prepared to help our kids to feel like they're safe here, to keep that brain online and engaged. And then we also need to be prepared for the fact that there's going to be unexpected things that happen, right? Whether it's something as simple as a surprise fire drill that we're regulated to do by the state, or, you know, like things that happen. Somebody bumps their head, somebody steals a toy, somebody makes them mad. You know, we also need to be ready in the moment to respond, to help kids to feel like they have the tools that they can use to be able to help themselves. So this first one is thinking about the environment. So I'm looking for an answer from you here, from our friends Kara and Pamela. What is something that you associate with home? So it might be a color, it might be a texture, it might be an object. You know, when I was little, I had a blankie, and if I didn't have my blankie, I couldn't sleep. You know, it could be a food, it could be a smell. What is something that you associate with home? Go ahead and stick that in the chat for me. Michelle and Muna, feel free to stick something you associate with home. What reminds you of home? I don't know if I can, where's the chat? Maybe I can see the chat. There it is. Okay. Oh, we got another friend too. Hello, we're putting in the chat right now something that makes us think of home. Hello.
Hello.
So right now we've got a couple answers of what is something that makes you, reminds you of home. We've got the smell of dinner. People often associate cooking and food with home. Somebody else has fires in the fireplace, pictures of family, something that makes you think of home. We'll give it another few seconds. I had a house that smelled like fire anytime it rained because our fireplace had a leak. So that was a good smell. It was not good that it had a leak, but it was a good smell. Oh, apparently I can stop that little slide thing. Apparently that can scroll like that. The reason that I ask about this is because, fall candles, thank you. The reason that I ask about this is because, we do make it a priority to make sure our school feels as homey as we can, right? Granted, everybody's home has a different feeling, has a different smell, has different people in it, but that is kind of that first cue of safety for kids. Often in the early learning center, this might be their first experience coming away from their parents and having a school experience. And so we know that finding out what home feels like to the kids and helping that to promote a sense of safety is going to keep that learning brain engaged and online. So some of the ways that we do that are we ask people to send in family pictures, and kids have family pictures that they put up. One of the first units that they start to do in all of our grade levels in the early learning center, and actually all the way up through all of our grades, is an identity unit. So for our little kids, sometimes that looks at mixing paint together to find out what their skin color is. What part of your body do you like is your favorite? And it's their feet, or it's their eye, or it's their mouth, and they put pictures up. They get to share about who lives in their house with them. And they get to bring things from home for rest time or to share. And so we recognize that helping kids to feel like they belong and trying to foster a sense of belonging and safety starts with the environment. Because we have a nature-based program, we do often include things that have a lot of natural textures, feelings. We look at bringing the outside in and the inside out and kind of creating that seamless continuity. And so, certainly we can't, none of our schools feel exactly 100% like home, but, we start that sense of safety with that for them. And so that's that first way of sort of promoting that social emotional well-being as that sense of safety for our students. And it's also practical things like reviewing safety rules, keeping your hands to yourself. When we're out at forest school, these are the rules of being able to see the teacher, that all of those things, and proactively teaching those ahead of time to our students is a way that helps them to know that you are respected and you belong, and we're all here together. All right, my next question to give me an answer in the chat here is a feelings check-in. Okay, I'm the school counselor, so I'm always interested in how people are feeling, but I actually don't want you to respond with a feeling word. What I'm wondering is, when you are calm, where do you notice it in your body? So often one of the ways that I get kids to identify how they are feeling is by helping them to understand where they notice that in their body, right? They might not know that they're feeling nervous, but their face gets hot. And so we use those physiological cues to help them to understand what their body is communicating to them. So when you are calm, where do you notice it in your body? Give me that answer in the chat whenever you have a second. This one is a little trickier, I think, than I know when I'm angry, my face gets red. When I'm nervous, my armpits get sweaty. But when you're calm, where do you feel it in your body? Oh, relaxed shoulder. Oh, that's made me want to relax my shoulders. That's a good call. Yes. Oh, your face. Yes, you relax. You relax your face. That's a good one. Slowing down your breathing. I want to say, this is going to sound funny, I'm hungry when I'm calm. Often when I'm bored, I'm hungry, right? We might do that kind of boredom eating, but that's a good cue for me, right? Like if I have slowed down enough to actually feel hungry and feel like I need to eat instead of just eating because I better keep my energy going to keep running. Yeah, when other people want to eat when they're bored. Well, when you're bored, you're calm, right? Like if I'm bored, I'm calm enough to be bored. So that's one way that I know that I'm calm. And so these are some of the sort of ideas of lessons that we're doing with our students to help them, to help explicitly teach, right? we can create an environment of safety, but we also have to work with our students to teach them lessons. And so part of the ways that we do that, we include literature. So using books as a way to help kids. I mean, this is great for identity, for them to feel like they have a sense of belonging, but it's also a really great way for them to be able to make a connection of emotions, of what to do if you have a problem. So we use picture books a lot for that. We use hands-on sort of activities as well. So at the beginning, we did that starfish breathing, but the teachers will teach explicit calming skills. Some of the other things that we highlight in our curriculum, emotional identification, right? The kids show a feeling, they take a picture of their face, they put it on the wall. This is a mad face, this is a sad face. Those personal connections all the way to empathy, cooperation, and problem solving. So, we have to teach the kids, this is what you do when. We use those through simple phrases that they can use, when I'm mad, I this, and easy repeatable things, all the way to just the skill of sitting still and paying attention. I know that they Give Me 5 is one that we've used often. And so they have a visual on the wall of eyes are watching, ears are listening, hands are quiet, all those sorts of things, ways that we're promoting them being in charge of their own bodies, and also how them being in charge of their own bodies, their own feelings, their own thoughts helps create an environment where everyone can do that, all the way through cooperation of how to work together, how to problem solve, things like that. And that independence piece is a super important, kind of connection that we make as well. So click to my next slide here. So we start from a place of what I would call co-regulation, right? We, as the teachers and as the adults, we need to show them, this is what we do together. This is how we calm down together. This is how we share our toys together. And they first start to model that while they're teaching it. And then those social emotional foundational skills, like we said, are then what help them to be able to move on to those building blocks of pre-literacy skills, pre-math skills, including science and experiments and some of those other fun things, because we're in a place where we're first feeling safe and regulating ourselves. And then of course the teachers, they're able to then have those common language to be able to help the kids, so that when something does arise that's unexpected, they're able to help work through that. And they've taught it already. This is what we do when we're having trouble sharing. This is what we do when we fall down and get hurt. So we start with that co-regulation and then practice, right? I've taught you the skill. We've learned about this thing together, and now it's real life. So I got one more question for you guys to answer in the chat for me. When I'm having a tough day, what helps me the most is, how would you finish that sentence? When I'm having a tough day, what helps me the most is. Wondering if we're going to go back to those home mindful breathing or drawing, being alone. Oh my gosh, being alone is the best sometimes. Taking a break for coffee and a treat. I'm a music person. I realized that I used to be a music person before I had my kids, and now there's so much noise in my house. I sometimes don't need more noise that's happening, but I always if I go back to some of my favorite artists to listen to on a tough day, that's really helpful for me. Guided meditation. If you're a person that practices mindfulness or other things like that, that can be really helpful. So, thanks. I mean, we all have tough days, and we've had a lot of tough days and on end lately. And so that can be really binge watching a TV show. Amen to that. Sometimes you just got to zone out. It's normal to have feelings. I put that phrase there, but it is a good reminder. It can feel inconvenient for our kids to have their own feelings and have their own moments, especially when we are already having our own feelings and having our own moments. That's a tricky thing to balance. And so, teaching ahead of time that feelings are a way of life, that feelings come, that feelings go, that this is normal to have that, is one thing, but then putting it into practice with them of, there's that feeling we learned about. This is what we're going to do with it now. There's that problem we learned about in that book. This is what we're going to do with it now. And so, it is normal for kids to have ups and downs, and it's normal for them to need help in working through those things. So when we start from that pace of co-regulation with our kids, we're modeling it, we're doing it together as we're teaching it. Now we can help them work towards self-regulation, right? Help them be in a place where they go, I can use that starfish breathing on my own. Now that my teacher has taught it to me and reminded me, now I know how to do that on my own. I'm trying to put on my boots to get out to forest school, and I'm frustrated because I don't know how to put on my boots myself yet, but they're going to need to learn how to put on their boots. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. Michelle, do you still have me? Did you lose me?
Nope, I have you. Sorry, I was giving you a thumbs up. You're good.
That's okay. I know you guys are all frozen, so I'm just trusting that one of you is going to unmute and tell me something or put it in the chat if all of a sudden you lose me.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, thank you. So we need the kids to get to a point where they're able to work on some of these things on their own and independently. So like I said, part of how we do that is through predictable routines, right? Like they have the same schedule for school every day. And I think that we know that that's a good thing, and we usually do those sort of things, but we're intentional in that. And because for the kids to develop independence, having that predictable routine means they know what's coming next. That's part of what helps promote their sense of safety, because it's not, what is next? Well, we always go to lunch after this. And so I know that this thing is coming next, which means that then they can start to do those routines independently, right? After I come in from forest school, I take off my suit, I put these things here, right? At first, the teachers are teaching them those things, but part of what we work towards is them getting independent in those skills, because as they move on and get older, they're going to need to do those things on their own. So allowing opportunities for independence through predictable routines, through just skills of doing things for themselves, and then in the midst of that, we're able to reinforce or help them to practice those self-regulation skills that they've already been taught in the classroom. Oh, it looks like you're frustrated. When I'm frustrated, I do my starfish breathing. When I'm frustrated, I take a break. I ask for help. And so then we're able to get those skills in place for them, help them to do those skills on their own. So now they're working towards independence. And that also creates that rainbow of independence in learning as well, right? We want our kids to be curious, to develop passions, to get interested and try new things. And so when they're able to get this foundation of independent skills in taking care of themselves, and in their regulating their emotions, it also fosters that sense of creativity and that curiosity, that resilience that's going to help them in future educational endeavors, right? When I've worked through this problem of learning how to tie my shoes, then when I get to long division, I know what it's like to work through a tough problem, and I have those resilience skills. And I know how to keep myself calm while I'm doing it, so that I'm able to have the perseverance to be able to work through this problem and eventually be able to be an engineer, because I learned long division in 4th grade, right? So those skills start to build on each other, and we lay that foundation here in our early learning center with our emotional regulation. The last quick thing I wanted to go over with you guys was just one or two more kind of self-regulation skills that we teach. But before I do that, did anybody have any questions about anything that I've talked about so far? You can either unmute and say it out there, or you can throw it in the chat. Any questions about anything so far? I'm bad at silence, and so I'm going to assume that 20 seconds was a long enough think time for anybody that did have questions. So if you think of another one, feel free to put it in the chat. So here's just a couple other quick ones. Like I said, these are fun ones to be able to do with the kids. Teach it like a game. That's a lot of what we do. We do this kind of play-based, like it's fun. It's within the classroom, it's a game, and it's engaging, and it's silly, and it's interesting. And then now that they've learned it, we can practice it in those times when they're starting to have a frustration point and they're gonna need some assistance in being able to use those skills independently. So if you've done mindfulness before, it would be something that's not unfamiliar to you, but mindfulness is really just the practice of being in the present moment. It's not necessarily any kind of religious thing or meditative thing. It's just using brain science to say, when we slow our bodies down, when we pay attention to what's happening within ourselves, then we're able to keep that learning, that problem solving brain engaged, and we're able to better attend overall, pay attention, and grow that skill of paying attention. So it can be something that if you have a 2-year-old, it could be something as easy as toes. If you have an 8-year-old or a 10 or a 12-year-old, it could be a whole body scan. But I'm going to take a quick second. I'm going to slow myself down. And we're just going to start with 3 deep breaths to get our heart rate slowed down so that we can kind of get in this attention mode. So take 1 breath in and out. 1 more for me. And the last one. And you can let your breathing pattern return to normal. And I just want you to notice your pinky toe. You can pick whichever foot. You don't have to wiggle it. You don't have to move it, but you can if you like. Just notice one of your pinky toes. Do you see it there? See it in your mind's eye and you can feel it? What about your big toe on that same foot? Can you notice all the toes? My pinky toe, my little toe next to it, my middle toe, my toe next to my big toe, and now my big toe. I have 5 toes on that foot. What about my other big toe on my other foot? There it is. And then there's one next to it. Can you tell that it's there? What about the one in the middle? And the one next to that? And your pinky toe. Let's count our toes together. Start back at the beginning. 1 toe, 2 toes, 3 toes, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Scrunch them up real tight. Squeeze them, squeeze them, squeeze them, squeeze them, squeeze them. Tight, 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 toes. Now relax them and wiggle them out. They're all still there. All right. I know that I made that a little bit like silly for the toddlers, right? I wouldn't do that same thing necessarily in wiggling the toes if I was working with a group of adults, but that was just a 30 or 60 second thing of being able to pay attention to our body and slow down enough to be in the moment. And you can make it something fun like that. But what that does is it slows your heart rate down. It increases the oxygen flowing in your body, and it brings that emotional self-regulation. Animal breaths are another great one. I mean, there's tons of you can make this up, but I mean, a lot of the ones that we use would be like a lion breath, where you breathe in real and then you roar it out like a lion, or a snake breath where we in through our nose and then as long as you can, like a snake. A whale breath where you breathe in and you stick your head up like a blowhole and you. And when we make it silly and when we make it fun for the kids like that, it's something that they remember, that they engage with. But really what we're doing is we're keeping their bodies in a state where their heart's slowed down, where they're on track, and they're able to regroup from learning. And we all know that when you have those tough and those tense moments, that sometimes even like laughing is a great thing to get us back in the right mode. And so that's another good one. And then the last quick one, this one might seem like a silly one. And if you've ever been in a classroom, hopefully you've seen this. But this is even just a call and a response for attention. So one of the ways we do it out in forest school, I know is that, the teachers might say, class, class, class. And then the class goes, yes, yes, yes. That's one that we use. Or when I'm out at the park with my kids, if I'm letting them explore, then I'll do that same 3-name call. Hannah, Hannah, Hannah. And she goes, yes, yes, yes. And when we are helping our kids to learn about safe and unsafe situations, having a standardized call and response to be able to get their attention is a great way. I mean, it's great in the house to be able to get them to listen instead of like, come downstairs. You know, it's much more pleasant to do it in a kind of fun call and response that you've all agreed upon. But the reason that this is really great from a safety standpoint too is if I've practiced those things ahead of time, and I have and my kid is getting too close to something that's unsafe, now I can do a call and response in a way that is like normal and something that we use on a regular basis that helps them to then turn their attention to me, so that I can respond in a way that is calm and measured instead of freaking out because they're getting close to something that might be dangerous. And so this helps us in the classroom of being able to just promote this sense of like, it's normal to need to get your attention, to need to ask you to do something, to need you to stop what you're doing. But it also then gives us those opportunities to use those, you know, at recess when somebody might be starting to do something that they shouldn't do and help them to think about it before they're feeling corrected. Okay, well, I see that you're not waiting for your friend to take a turn and you're just pushing them down the slide. I can go, Hannah, and I can stop her without having to like, cut it out, you know? And that's once again, gonna keep them in that safety mode. And then it also helps us to distinguish between, I need you to listen to me versus what you're doing is super unsafe and I need you to stop right now, because it's dangerous and I need to get you to safety. And we do have to think about those things as parents. We have to think about those things as educators of, I want to give you flexibility to be able to make choices for yourself. And I also need you to know when it's time to stop. And I need to get you to stop right away. And so, you know, that's just another quick idea of ways that you can help keep your kids in that mode of switching their attention, of being able to like listen and respond, and have it be something that's fun and interesting and engaging versus like, I'm telling you for the 15th time. Sometimes you'll still have to tell them for the 15th time, but hopefully am I on time? Did I end on time? Did I not go too long? Great. Okay. That was all that I had for today. I want to give another opportunity for questions either about what I had to share or Muna might have some things that she needs to share about the program. So I'll stick myself back on mute.
Are there any questions for Rachel or for anybody else today?
Oh, I have a question.
Sure.
Maybe I was late, but I saw the video and you were doing the promo video for this meeting, and Rachel was talking with the kindergarten class. Mm-hmm. Do you also get together with the 3-year-old program? Oh, that's my husband.
Yeah, so I am the school counselor for the whole school. So all the way down to the preschool and up into the upper school. Part of what I do is kind of that preventive. So I do make visits down to the classroom so that the kids know who I am. Do that same sort of thing, do a little mystery reader, read a book to them, do a little lesson with them in regards to that social emotional well-being and just introduce them to who I am. So that kind of lays that foundation for now. If I'm in the classroom for another reason, you know, perhaps there's a student that, you know, needs a little bit of extra support in the classroom, or they had, you know, like a sudden loss in the family and they need somebody to talk with about that, you know, do a little bit of like a play therapy sort of a thing, that now they already have that relationship with me and I'm a familiar face and a familiar person to them. So I help support the teachers in that way by doing lessons like that, you know, periodically visiting, and then also I'm able to respond. And then I'm just one of the members of our student support team here at school. We also have a school psychologist and a learning specialist and school nurse. And so we also meet with the teachers regularly to be able to help them to meet the needs of our students. So we give them feedback and strategies and ways to best support, you know, the whole range of student learning and behaviors. So we kind of all around support there for our kiddos all the way through all the grade levels.
Well, thank you, Rachel. I appreciate it. I do want to apologize to all of you. I've had some crazy connection issues throughout this presentation. So I apologize about that, but I will definitely follow up with all of you that joined us today. We are still taking applications for the fall. We'd love to have you come out and tour if you haven't done so yet. And I would be happy to answer any other questions that you have. So you will have my email and contact information as we move forward. So thank you, Rachel and Michelle, and thank you for everyone for joining. And we hope to see you at future virtual info sessions that we have.